this presentation by Kolby. We do this every Thursday in our North Phoenix space, 12 to 1. Interesting topics, entrepreneurial related, marketing, sales, organization, legal, accounting. So every Thursday, check in with us, 12 to 1. I also want to thank our sponsor, which is Icelandic glacial water.
Man, that's delicious water.
And if you're here, you get to try it out. We're also going to be giving away a case of water to our guests here in DeskHub. So it means you got to come in to win the case. Next time, come in and you have that opportunity. With that, I'm going to turn it over to Kolby.
Hey, tell me a little bit about this. If I wanted to tune in live and see this on the stream, where do I go?
Go to DeskHub, our DeskHub Facebook page, and we've got Johnny manning that camera. And if you have questions, you can go on and ask us questions during the event. We'll get them to Kolby. So excited that you're following us here as well.
DeskHub, join it. Get on. I'm gonna put this phone down so I'm not a dick. There's a bunch of people here that want to see me present, and I love you guys. So just as an introduction, music is a huge piece of what I do here. Let me get the music going on. As an introduction, my name is Kolby Kolibas. I was born and raised in Salt Lake City, Utah, and I am a son of a mother who was an entrepreneur and a father who was a physical laborer. So my dad dug holes for the water and power company, and growing up, it was always, my dad worked hard. My dad worked to work, it was 12, 13-hour days digging holes, and my mom worked to run the business. So having around me was kind of subliminal because I didn't pick up on it like that. I just thought my mom was really busy and my dad was too tired to hang out. What I didn't realize was like there's a whole bunch of work ethic that goes behind that. I got into the music business and the entertainment business. I thought that was going to be my road. I was the entertainment director for the 2002 Olympics, managing the side stages and the things that happened in Salt Lake City. I built a sound studio and was DJing and producing and worked with as a touring manager for acts such as Outkast, Ludacris, and The Roots. We did a bunch of stuff from '99 to kind of 2003, and I thought for sure that's what I was going to do. Like I was going to be in the music business, and that was going to be my claim to fame. I became a single dad really young, had my daughter, and I had to make a decision: what do I want to be when I grow up? And as fast as I said that was as fast as I made the decision to leave the music business, and my daughter and I moved here to Phoenix. My father was living in the East Valley at the time. I had my first taste at, I put 17 resumes together, doing everything. Anything from working in a restaurant, to bartending, to bussing tables, to anything I could get a job doing, because you had to generate some revenue, right? And I got a job working in technology. I walked into corporate America, and the doors opened up with a very large IT firm here in town called Insight. And there's about 2,000 people that work there. And I would walk in the doors, and the energy of a call center, if you've never been in one, is pretty overwhelming, and it was exciting. And I saw the middle-aged white guy in the corner office driving the Beamer, and I thought, like, that's it for me. That is success. Like, the monetary success is how I can gauge kind of where I'm at, because I didn't come from a lot. I came from a pretty humble background. So I sat with the top performers and the people that were not just generating wealth, but were considered successful, and just tried to mirror what they did. What do you do? How do you do it? Why do you do it? And then what can I do to emulate those types of characteristics to find success in sales? And I did that, and within 5 years, I found myself in a corner office at 2 Fortune 500 companies here in town. One was Avnet, one was Insight. I kind of traveled around and did some other things. And I took a risk about 3.5 years ago to go start a software company. So here I was, I had worked over, God, here we are 14 years kind of into this game. I'd worked 14 years to get where I was, making 6 figures plus, with 3 children. It was before we had my son. Those who follow me, it's the intern. Before we had my son, and I walked away from all of that in a very high stakes gamble to go start a software company. We raised $3 million of funding, and we left. I had a beta group where we had 250 paying beta members that helped me kind of with the actual development of the software application that we were doing, and I was off and running. Well, what I didn't anticipate is I didn't build a plan B. And with entrepreneurship, a lot of times what people will tell you is either have a plan B or don't, kind of sit on the fence with the methodology. One is you should go all in with the business you're trying to start. If you have a plan B, that means you're not 100% committed. Well, I can tell you as somebody who's lost everything because I didn't have a plan B, I'll never not have a plan B again. Like, it was something that caught me, and it put me in a very vulnerable situation with my family. Long story short, I was going in, we were taking my daughter, she was turning 14 years old. We are in the garage. The garage opens. We're getting in the car to go take her to dinner. And the guy walks up to me and corners me in the garage with a hat, sunglasses, and an envelope, and gets me. And this is one of those moments where I'm like, everything that's valuable to me is in this car. Like, what do I do? Right? Like, am I getting robbed? Like, I don't have a gun with me, so this guy's in my garage and cornering me. What do I do? So I take the envelope, open it up. I got served papers. I got sued. I won't go to the details of it, but I got sued. And I had to stop the software company. So I pivoted and started, I used through a series of opportunities and options, I was able to take that open source software that we had built on tracking user behavior. I turned that into a sports agency with Leandro Barbosa, who used to be a son, and we had some multiple other investors on tracking treating each athlete as a brand on social media and leveraging that code to treat each athlete as its own thing. If I fast forward that, I've had 3 or 4 other ventures. I just launched a supplement line that's focused on stress. It took me 2 years of being a human guinea pig, kind of an a la Tim Ferriss. I took a bunch of natural supplements and blood tested myself and journaled everything for 2 years, and then launched a supplement line that's just gone gangbusters, specifically for work-related stress. What I've done in the last 2 years is I've advised over 300 solopreneurs, entrepreneurs, and small business on whether it's launching a product or service or whether it's taking an idea to revenue. And within the last 2 years, we've generated about $50 million worth of revenue over the 300 companies that I've had an opportunity to advise or be on the board of directors for. So at a high level, that's my story. Those tuning in, you guys have kind of heard that. What I wanted to talk about today, and I want to gauge the room, what are the businesses that you guys are in? Are you solopreneur, entrepreneur, team of people, and what's your industry? What do you do?
So right now I work full-time for a custom software agency.
Okay.
So that's kind of my plan B.
Yeah.
Or it might be my plan
Pays the
A right
bills.
now.
Yeah, plan A. Right?
Yeah. But I'm also working on the side to create my own startup that rewards people for working out.
Okay. Working at a software company today, building a software application that's a rewards-based system for working out. Awesome. What are you doing?
I do freelance software development, and then I'm also working about half and half on a web startup, an SAS company.
Plus you're a student.
Yeah, and I'm a student.
Love it.
So, owner of a company called General Sense Accounting. So I have a team of 4 people that work with me, and we just work with small businesses to help them grow their business and get more organized with their financial data.
Financial firm focused on small business. Got it.
Not an entrepreneur, paid in a corporate guy, financial services, coach, developing people, training.
Yes.
And I'm really a team guy, so it's all about being part of the matrix and helping lift and develop and move people forward. That's my legacy, but so this is new.
Awesome. So we've got people that are doing small business, solo business, software, fitness, a gentleman from corporate America who's looking to see what some of the other possibilities are. That's kind of the gauge of the room. Guys, when I was thinking about, I build these literally before I get here. Right? I'm going to gauge the audience and talk. I do public speaking sometimes 2-3 times a month, and I've spoken in front of audiences as big as this room to 10,000 to 100,000 people. And it's about first understanding the audience, but for me, it's really about what I feel at the moment. I had an opportunity to spend some time. You guys know who Damon John is? He's a Shark Tank's the founder of Fubu. I had the opportunity with a good buddy of mine, David Felix, to go do some work with Damon John last night and be at his new book release, The Power of Broke. And what I would have talked about yesterday versus what I talk about today is different based on just some conversations that we had with Damon. And what I want to talk about is when you look at 9 out of 10 entrepreneurs and small businesses fail within the first year, you know why?
Not enough.
What do you think? Say it again.
Not enough money.
Not enough capital?
Mm-hmm.
What do you think?
I don't know, drive.
Drive, money, capital's a big one. Generating customers, getting customers is hard, right? How do I attract customers? How do I keep customers? How do I retain them? Start with capital, but then capital once I scale. It's one thing to go from $10,000 a month in revenue, it's another to go to 20. That changes the dynamic of the organization. So how do I, if it's me and another guy, or me and my wife, or me and my mom, or just me, when I hit that $20,000 a month level, how do I make investments to make sure I can go from 20 to 100? So scalability, those are the main reasons that entrepreneurs fail. And when I started to look at it, I put this into pillars. I'm reading a book right now. It's the Pillars of Wealth by Alex Becker, if you guys have read that. It's an awesome book. And I like the pillars concept. So as I was driving over, I was thinking of the pillars of entrepreneurship and the pillars of being successful and what it means to me. So I wanted to start first with the mindset. When I say mindset, what I don't want you to think is hokey meditation, new age, like we're going to hold hands and at the end of this you're going to walk away, you're going to feel like a better person. What I want you to think about is the mindset of what you're doing, and you have to be 100% committed. When I say 100% committed, I mean building your business is your number one priority. Right? One of the things I get asked a lot is I spend a bunch of time and I showcase my family a lot. So I've got 4 children and a wife, and they're involved in everything I do. So that is my priority, is my family. But when I start to look at the business, there is nothing else. So having the mindset of having your business as your number one priority, that has got to be key in the foundation as you start to think as to how you show up. Believing that you're great is another big one. You can't do this stuff half-ass. You have to mentally know that you're great at whatever it is you're doing. And I'll tell you a story. So there's a gentleman that hired me to do some one-on-one consulting for his business, and he wanted to build a continuity program. So a continuity program is a subscription-based service where somebody comes on and pays you a monthly fee to be part of something that you do. And we go through, and I always do kind of a vetting, and he spent 15 years in the naval, as a naval officer doing repairs on these huge ships. Well, he left the Navy, and now his full-time job is supporting and servicing yachts. Right? So he wanted to do a continuity program around servicing these yachts. Specifically, these boats that he was working on, they really have 5 or 6 problems. Every one of them does. So what would happen is these multi-million, $10, $20 million yachts would be out on an island and would break down, and the captain would call him. What do I do about this? What do I do about this? What do I do about this? So that we came up with a continuity program that was around creating videos that could be accessed in a catalog anywhere with internet access. All the boats have Wi-Fi on them, right, and satellite. Anywhere I could get access to see what these specific problems were going to be. And then I set up a level 1 service where they could call him direct. Well, that service, just right off the top, based on the work that we were going to do, I said that's a $5,000 a month program. I'd say $4,700 a month. And if you want level 1 support where you get a call and reach me, that's going to be almost double, right? So let's say $6,500 to get level 1 support. And immediately the phone calls, like we froze on the call. And I could tell he had some trepidation about what I was telling him. And I said, okay, stop for a minute, because what you're doing is putting a price tag on what you think your skill set is now on this new thing you're trying to do. You're putting a price tag and a value on your experience in what? Sales and marketing. Right? He's not a sales and marketer. He has no idea how to sell and how to market what the service is going to be once we build it. I do the building, and I'll help him with the sales and marketing plan, but he was putting a price tag on his experience in selling and marketing. His name's Ryan, and I said, Ryan, how long have you been in the Navy? I was in the Navy for 10 years. How long have you been working on ships? For 15 plus. So what you're telling me is 15 years worth of experience. Like, how many calls do you take to where people engage on that phone call and you're able to solve the problem? And he said, probably 95% of them. I said, so 15 years experience and 95% of a success rate of helping, that's where I came up with the number. So you have to value yourself. That's thinking that you're great. That's understanding that you're great in your skill set. Whether it's your industry or the experience you have to think and focus that way. Does that make sense? Okay. And the competitive advantage. Focusing on what your competitive advantage is. And I'll give you this one-on-one kind of example. When I was building the software company, I'm not a programmer. What I was doing at nighttime was figuring out how to write a program that would go into Active Directory and scrape Active Directory based on usage. So how many times does somebody log into a database, right? I was smart enough to take classes online at night to go figure that piece out, but I'm not a developer, I'm not a designer. So the actual designing component, I had to hire some people that were, I played a developer on TV and could talk about it, but I wasn't really a developer in real life. I had to bring some people in. I do sales and marketing really well. And what would happen is I would get caught in the wheels of building the software. My business partner at the time, who was just phenomenal at operations and finance, pulled me aside one day and said, listen, I know you can do it. I know you can develop this software. I know if you just put your nose, you're smart enough to do it, but he used a phrase for me that I'll never forget. He said, what's your competitive advantage? Like, what are you really, really good at? And I made a list of them. He said, make a list of what you're good at, what you're not good at, what you're working on. And what I'm good at is having conversations. What I'm good at is sharing a message. What I'm good at is getting people to understand what it is I'm trying to do. What I'm good at is getting people to change direction. What I'm good at is selling a product or service that I believe in, not writing software. So understanding what your competitive advantage is, and then understanding when to outsource, how to outsource and when to outsource, part of that, so you can focus on your core competencies, right, or your competitive advantage. All of that is a mindset thing. Because what I have to do now is I have to be able to relinquish control. So starting with building the business is the #1 priority. Understanding that you're great, believing that you're great. Understanding what resources are that you can leverage, and then knowing when to outsource. Focusing on your core, your competitive advantage, and knowing when to outsource. Does that make sense? That would be kind of in that first pillar, right? Second piece is, when you look at this outcomes, you 100% control the outcomes based on the work you put in or the work you don't put in. Would we agree on that? No? Yes? Maybe? Right, so if you're coaching people in the fitness industry, if they don't lose weight, why? If you're launching a new software program and you don't get adoption, why? If you're in corporate America and you haven't made that leap, why? Usually it's because of fear, but a lot of it's because of lack of preparation. We 100% control the outcomes if we 100% are thinking ahead. So from a software programming perspective, I'll use 2 examples. We'll do software and then we'll do like PT, kind of or physical training and getting people to change their behaviors, right? From a software perspective, there's a niche you can get in of being, you have to be great to launch and it has to be perfect. That'll never happen, so don't get confused with, it's got to be 100% before I launch. I launch stuff all the time that's half-baked and I fix it as I'm going. Just because you're going to get, where you start and where you end is going to be completely different. The feedback you get and the things you're going to learn 30 days in, 60 days in, 90 days in is going to be very dynamic versus what you think. So launching a software application, what I mean controlling the outcomes is everything from when I do my beta launch to the workflow, the screen click-throughs, all the way down to what bugs need to be fixed and trying to anticipate what could happen and planning and getting people in and making sure I've got a very solid beta group to make sure the bugs are fixed before we go to GA, before I release that product. You control every step of that process. And I make a list of what could go wrong, right? And then I try to proactively get in front of it, all the way down to your financing arm. So if you launch this application, if it's freemium or if it's $1 a download, okay, where does that server set? Is it in AWS where I can hit critical mass? Doesn't matter any time in the world, I can scale up, I can scale down because I know they've got the infrastructure. What about my payment gateway? How hard is it for customers to pay me for me to recognize revenue and then my billable cycle? You have to be thinking about those types of aspects, even though you're not billing anybody today. In preparation, you have to think there. You have to, because you don't want to launch and then all of a sudden have a payment gateway issue where people can't buy your product. I've done that, it only happens once. And then you'll never do that again, right? So when you start to look at the healthcare industry and trying to, whether it's personal coaching or putting somebody on a program, understanding. A good friend of mine, Tommy Baker, he's here in the Valley. Him and I had this discussion on personal training. And it's the same thing around entrepreneurship. If the spouse is not involved, right? So if I choose to make a physical transformation, I want to lose a bunch of weight. At the end of that, if I really go through that in the first 90 days, I am going to be a different person than the way I went in. I'm physically going to be better. I'm mentally going to be better. I'm going to be more motivated. I'm going to be different. I'm not going to be the same person. Well, if my spouse isn't along for that ride, at the end of that 90 days, you're going to see separation. You don't see support. You see self-sabotage, where the people around you that love and like you kind of get in your way. Well, I can get in front of that. How? If you involve the spouse in the process. Whether they want to work out or not, but getting them involved in what does this mean? How can you support? This is what meal prep is. And by the way, you're setting the stage for this is what's going to happen when these people have this goal. They're going to be a different person. That's the goal. That's the reason we're doing this. Right? Is to drive an outcome, is to change, is to be different. Right? So understanding what the roadblocks are going to be is going to be critical. Right? But you control those outcomes. That's all about preparation. Make sense? You agree? And then the what if versus what is. This is the killer. I would be more concerned. I wrote this quote down that gets me, right? So the fear of looking back in life and not doing something, that has to outweigh the what ifs. Like going back and saying, what if I didn't do this? What if I didn't do this? If I don't think about the outcomes and like what I'm trying to do and what I'm driving to, if that can't be center focus, I can't spend all my time on the what ifs. And if that level of regret of looking back and saying, what if I didn't, isn't heavier than the what if, you're going to talk yourself out of it every single time. Every single time. So focusing on the what is in front of me? What are those opportunities? What can I control? Versus what if I go bankrupt? What if nobody buys it? What if there's not an adoption to it? Again, that goes back to the outcomes. You control the outcomes. You should have done market preparation to be able to get some validation of what you're doing prior to launching to the what if people don't buy. I always have that. Anytime I do a product launch, I launched 4 business ideas 2 weeks ago. All of them completely different. From the rememberwhyyoustarted.org nonprofit that we started to the supplement line I spent 2 years on, like a bunch of stuff launched. You don't think when I launch, I go to bed at night going, oh my God, like nobody's gonna buy it, it's not gonna click, the message isn't gonna work? Of course I do. That's human nature, but I did not do it because I didn't think I didn't go, well, what if they don't buy it? And I said, okay, I'm not gonna do it, sat down. I still move ahead, and then you tweak it as you go. But the what ifs can't control the what is. Fair enough? Make sense? All right. And then focus. When I say focus, that seems like that's a very broad term, and anybody that's motivational will tell you, like, hey, you should focus on the things that matter. No, you focus on revenue. That's the only thing that matters. The only thing that matters in business is making money. Second piece is, what matters most is the customer experience and making sure that there's a holistic view as to why you're doing what you're doing. But when you peel that back, if you're not making money, you're not going to be in business. What's the number one reason small business entrepreneurs and solopreneurs go under? Managing capital, and they aren't able to attract customers. Right? Revenue. Generating revenue and selling has got to be one of your most important things. I have a revenue goal down every single day. I know how much money I need to make every single day to hit my financial obligations and put savings away. Every day. So I look in, open up my phone, I've got Stripe and I've got PayPal for any of my one-on-one consulting plus my businesses and my recurring revenue plus my invoicing systems. I run everything through Stripe. I know every day, whether it's 10 grand, whether it's $50, whether it's $7, in real time what money's coming in. In midday, I'm looking at it, and I'm like, okay, I'm at $700. I need to be at $1,800, or I'm at $1,800. I need to be at $3,500. And then what I control is picking up that phone and like driving opportunity, getting on emails when I know there's a subscription list that I could offer a service to help somebody, getting on Amazon, making sure my Amazon business is set up the right way to where I'm getting clicks and eyeballs, but picking up the phone to driving that. So the focus on revenue is so key. You agree? And I think when we lose focus on that because we start to concentrate on some of the things that we like to do versus the necessity, which at the end of the day is bringing my product to market, solving a business problem, but generally selling. Right? All right. Last piece, taking action. If we do not take action, none of this stuff matters. You can talk about it. Talk to your friends about it. We can come here and have a great lunch. I can call my mom and say, hey, I got this great business idea, and go on Facebook and tell people I'm going to do something. At the end of the day, if you do not take action on what it is you're trying to do, none of this other stuff matters. Then it all sits in the what ifs, and there's nothing that gets predicated. You agree? Yeah? You go to Q&A, I'll take these guys in here. I'm going to close this down. Yo, guys. Appreciate you sitting in. Just a real quick Kolby in action. We are going to go to Q&A. I'll see you soon. Questions, comments, concerns?
So I guess when launching a new business, where do you start?
Launching a new business, where do I meet? What do I do?
Yeah.
Well, here's the, if you want to sell anything, here's the magic thing. Here's the key to sales. You guys know who Ty Lopez is? You don't know who Ty Lopez is? Anybody know who Ty Lopez is? Go look up who Ty Lopez is. If you ever looked at YouTube, he's the guy that's like, I'm in my garage and I read all these books, knowledge is power. You know that guy?
Yes.
Hilarious dude, right? So when you look at Ty Lopez, I think the last time I heard he spends $1 million a month on YouTube ads. It's, if I were to say he has a magic secret in his garage, I use it as kind of a parody for me. But if I were to tell you the secrets to selling, to doing anything in any business is this. It comes down to 4 steps. 1, find a group of people that have a need. Right? Find where those people are, whether they're forums, whether they're public places where you can go, whether they're in your social circle. Find a group of people that have a need. 2, figure out how to solve that need. Right? 3, go back to that group and validate that you were at, that need still exists, you were able to solve it. And 4, sell it to them. That's it. So me personally, what do I like? I've got a handful of businesses, and I'm just diving into the Amazon business because there's like I was out of the hard goods business forever. I was doing software services because the margins are like 80% margins in software. Services should run at 100% margins. Like you should run a very lucrative business. Then I started doing a ton of stuff online, like you're just selling internet stuff. And like the conversion rates on internet, I think are less than 2%. My conversion rates are 12. But I can tell you my call ratios when I'm outbound calling, or if I do a radio ad, call now to take action, or I do a television spot, those conversion rates are way better than like 5%. So understanding where to show up. So I'm all over the place. I've got a supplement line. I've got a software as a service line. I'm in the process of building an online education system for entrepreneurs. I've got like a subscription continuity program. I've got a nonprofit. I'm kind of versed, but for me, I've seen an area of people where there's been a need that's been uncovered, whether it's through conversations or just paying attention. And then I try to figure out if there's a way that I can come in and kind of solve that. If there's a selfish part of me that just wants to make money, it's the same thing. If you want to make money, you go to find a group that has a big need. Some of the Amazon hacks this is a great Tim Ferriss hack, is go to Amazon on a hard product or service, whether it's eye masks or selfie sticks. You can go to amazon.com/bestsellers and find out the top things they're selling, right? And figure out what the best things are that are selling, and then I go and look at the reviews. I don't look at the positive reviews, I look at the negative reviews. Like manufactured poorly, the strap came off when I was wearing it, it smells like dog urine, the handle doesn't work, I don't know, whatever the negative things are. And then if I can source that product or service, if I'm looking at like kind of a hard goods, if I go to Alibaba or go to China Direct, and I can get that same product at a price point that's attractive on the Amazon market that doesn't break my margin thresholds, I build my value proposition, and all my marketing now comes around where people are saying this sucks, or I don't like this, or I wish it did this. I'm usually looking for the I wish it did. If this thing only did, and then a lot of times it does that, they just didn't do a good job marketing that and putting it in front of the material. So for me, that's the way I look at it. I try to find a group of people that have got a need, and whether that need is hardware, software, services, and then can I actually solve that problem? One of the things that used to kill me all the time is 5 or 6 years, even 10 years ago, I always thought I had a great idea. Then I go on Google and find out somebody else had it, and I get discouraged, and I go, oh shit, I'm not doing that now. Well, that's not the way to do it. The question is, can I do it better? Can I have a better version of this one thing that exists? Can I make a better product than this one thing that I'm trying to make? Zuckerberg did a great interview recently where he was talking about he still gets no's. Like when he asks and wants to do stuff, he's still turned down all the time. Think about that. I mean, the guy's net worth is, we're talking billions of dollars, and he still gets turned down when he's asking for opportunity and asking to do something. So if at Zuck's level he's getting turned down and he's being told no, I got to think that I'm going to hit that same reaction. That's how I kind of push through it. There's a long kind of winded answer to that. I want to kind of put it in perspective. What else? Yes, sir.
On LinkedIn.
Yeah.
Your career path.
Yes.
Every year and a half or
Mhm.
so, you were promoted to another role.
Yeah.
Sometimes within Insight or
Yes.
within a company.
Yes. 8 years, almost 10 years at Insight. They were forward moves.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, did it just get too boxed in small for the ambition of your dreams?
I have ADD,
Okay.
and I get tired of sitting in the same spot for too long. Doing the same shit and being in the same routine is not me. I mean, it's entrepreneurs, people that are entrepreneurs are just wired a little bit different. So I'll take it back to an academic level, and I'll say the kids that misbehave are the kids, like, there are kids that are flat out just jackasses, and then there are kids that really just have an attention issue. And the way we've curbed this in the past is through medication. Change your diet and get your kids outside first. Like, there are some extreme cases, but we treat it with a pill. All right, my parents didn't do that. You got to think I'm 41 this month. I was on Ritalin when I was 8. That was when Ritalin just came out, and it messed with me so much. My parents within like 2 weeks took me off of it, and then looked at my diet. And we're like, well, he's all hopped up on sugar and sodas at 8. Like, let's get that out of his life. Let's constitute a good diet and get him playing. Put me in team sports, right? So I'll attribute all my success. When they do the behind the music scenes on like my life, I'll attribute everything to having ADD. But so that for me, it was I got to a point where I never went into a job looking for the next job. So I didn't go in saying this is going to be a step stool for me. I always went into, and I've never had a job I haven't liked. Every job that I've gone to, I've gone with 100%, and I've got at it to be the best at that position at the time. And then traditionally what will happen is I don't ask to move. What will happen is you get the tab. I see you're really good here, we need something here, and then I have to weigh the risk-reward option. Is it good to go there? Is it a lateral move? It's a little bit more money, but it's outside my comfort zone. Like when I went from sales to marketing, or I went from sales to product management's operations. I'm not the spreadsheet guy. Can I do forecasting P&Ls, and can I do marketing demand generation campaigns? Can I do marketing reimbursement? Like, man, yes, I can. I'm mentally smart enough to do it, but I don't like to do it, so that doesn't become the first thing I do. I get out in front of the sales machine and sharing the story and getting the product out. So for me, I've been really, my corporate career, it's been about, I've got the nod, like, hey, we want you to come do this. So it has been a lot of bounce around, but for me, I've always taken that as a challenge. And 2 years for me is kind of where I tap out.
So unbelievably prolific with all the things you've done. So,
Yep.
what percentage of what are you passionate about now? Obviously, you're, public speaking and motivating. I saw your meltdown in the desert thing,
Yeah.
which is awesome.
Yeah, thank you.
And I looked at your supplement piece, the
Yeah.
chamomile and the B12 and the
Yes,
stress.
yes.
So you've got so many balls
Yeah.
juggling in the air, but what percent, to get to the point you are now,
Yep.
you had to have gone through the roadmap
Yes.
of failure and success, the things that you did made you who you are today.
Yeah.
Right? What percentage of your day is something that you really love right now that you're doing? Is it the advising? Is it the building new businesses?
Well, I love that question. That's probably one of the best questions I've had. All right. My son had an ear infection last night. I was up until 4:30. I went to bed at 2. I published a new ebook that was widely successful, and now I'm working on Amazon and getting that book printed. I had 20 new customers today. I had 20 new customers. I had 20 new customers today on my supplement line. I had 4 people ask for refunds on 3 orders for another product that got lost in shipping. I had some negative comments on a post I put out that was political in nature. I'm not a political guy. I have an opinion on everything. It just depends on kind of where I share it. And a guy came at me. I had a good conversation about a new business venture. My wife was hungover today. She gave me a ton of grief. Almost got a speeding ticket. Then I got to present today. That's my day. So if I look at the emotional roller coaster, that's before lunchtime. That's every day. That is every day. Every day is like this for me. You just got to be wired different because you're going to have ups and downs, and it could be the same 10 minutes. So what do I focus on? I focus on the things that drive revenue, but I focus on the things I like, and there's been a great intersection. But at the same sense, if I could tell you I had a major falling out of a huge financial arm that I was responsible for the day of the meltdown. And then I went on stage and had an event that I put my heart and soul into. I spent 20 grand to get that, to put that event together.
That's awesome.
And I had a huge falling out of my main source of income dropped out the day of the meltdown. I had this huge falling out, literally drove to my event. And it's like, well, I got to fix that now. So I'm in this mode, and I focus on things that I like to do, that are going to drain, for me, it's all about what can I do to help people and give back, and then can I make money on it as well. So the stuff that I'm focused on is generating revenue. The supplement line is being wildly successful. The books are being written. My consulting business is through the roof right now. But all of those things come together, and I get new opportunities. So I try to focus on things I can do. And I like to public speak. I'm not my days in the entertainment business, and like being a musician and being on stage for all those years, set me up for public speaking. Like speaking in public is not, it's not a challenge. It's not hard because I spent 15 years touring, right? So I like to speak, but the things I like to do is it's the business stuff. So I try to focus there, but at the end of the day, like I said, I have a revenue goal every day, and I want to make sure I'm hitting. So things are good. And I've just been really blessed. The stuff I focused on are things that generate money. Does that answer your question? That was kind of a long-winded answer. What else?
When you say you need focus, how do you do that with 4 different businesses?
I got 4 different businesses, 4 children, and a very demanding wife.
So,
And I got shit that I do. I have hobbies. Doing business is my hobby. How do I stay focused? I write everything down. That's the problem of having ADD. Because I'll just go to the next shiny thing if I don't write it down. I wanted to talk about this. It's a great time. There are only 2 things in life to me that matter when it comes to what you just asked me. There are goals and there are tactics, right? So what are the goals that I'm trying to get to? It can be business related. It can be with my family, like taking my date, having a better relationship with my wife. What are the tactics of that? I have to make sure that I have date night once a week, Twice a week I'm writing notes telling her how much I care about her and making sure I can continue with positive affirmation. It's in my business. It's on the supplement line. What's my goal? My goal is to help 39,420 people in 6 months. Reduce stress. How to come up with that number? That's $1 million in revenue in 6 months. That's how I came up with that number. Right? So I have a goal. How am I going to do that? I got the tactics. I do press release. I got to launch it. I have an email list of 11,000 people. I got to get the website done. Like, does it work? Get clinical studies. Get like all that stuff. So for me, everything falls into one of these two buckets, and I write everything down. I use Evernote. I write my goal lists out. I use Post-its, but most stuff lives in Evernote for me. So I'll have a goal list, then the tactics. All these tactics have got to be based on hitting these goals. Everything here is wasted space. If you're Gary Vaynerchuk, I spent some time with him in London speaking. That's kind of his clouds in the dirt. It's the same kind of philosophy.
If you're pre-revenue
Yep.
and you want to build out an MVP,
Okay.
how do you decide between, I guess there's really 3 ways to go about it. So raising funds, putting together a team.
Why do you think you need to raise funds? You know, I've only raised money once in one business. I'll never do it again. I just won't.
Okay.
Unless I absolutely have to. Like, once I get to a place where like I need critical scale, and I've hit a roadblock where I'll grassroots everything now. I'll do everything. I'll bootstrap it. I'll bootstrap as much as I absolutely can without putting additional financial burden. I won't get a loan from the bank. I do beta programs. You can do a beta program on a software launch and say, listen, you've been handpicked to be part of this beta program. As part of the beta program, you're going to get X, Y, and Z. I'm going to do those in milestones. We're going to do 30-day calls, and now in 30 days we're going to review. I appreciate your feedback. If you think there's value, you're going to get 50% off when we launch in 90 days. You pay. It's a continuity program. To be part of the beta program, you do have to pay. It's not free. That money now, if I get enough people, that's how I funded my software launch. What happened was I wanted to go from 1 million to like 30 million in 1 year. And I didn't have a roadmap to do that without I needed to add a bunch of people. I had to add physical resources and developers, and that's when I raised funding.
So you had people pay to go through that.
I had people to go through the beta. Yeah, absolutely.
Okay.
It's not what if versus what is. It doesn't hurt to ask. If I ask a ton of people and it's not adopted, then I gotta relook at it. Then maybe I'm just not offering enough. And then ask. Always ask people what they want. Don't just assume. Ask your customers or your prospects. Ask them. You do this with me today, why? What's the one value that our product or service is solving? Do you find that? Unless it's a hard good, like a toothbrush. Even then, you bought a toothbrush from me, did it clean your teeth? Yes or no? How long did it take for the bristles fell out? Why did you buy that toothbrush over another? If it's just a cost play and the product falls apart, then I know my value propositions and my costing model. But asking, continually asking. That wasn't the immediate question. So keep going.
Well, it's kind of between. So I'm looking to build out an MVP, but it's
Explain to these guys what MVP means.
minimum viable product. So just the most basic version of your product to test before launching a full scale.
Yep.
So it's between really like fundraising to gain capital to build the MVP, or myself bootstrapping it, and or having putting together a team and giving them equity.
What's the product you're trying to launch?
Like an application to reward people for working out through gyms.
Do you know how to program today?
Me, no.
Yeah. Do you know what the screens are going to be? Do you design work or development work?
Yeah.
What's your background?
I do like sales and marketing, but I do a little bit of design as well.
Okay. Why did you pick this specific niche?
Because I'm pretty passionate about the fitness industry.
Who are your competitors? You know? You have listed out?
There's no players that are specifically in the gym industry, which I want to attack because they.
What about Lifetime has a program that does that today? They do lifetime membership reward for like points.
Right.
The more you work out, the more you buy. So how's this different?
But it's at Lifetime.
I'm just busting your balls.
Yeah.
Just kind of crunch it. So there was a program, I had it on my phone, I wish I knew the name of it, where I would pay money every month to be part of it, and I would set a series of goals. If I didn't hit those goals, that money went to charity.
Yeah.
You know what I'm talking about?
Mm-hmm.
And then otherwise, if other people were in your pool, like if the 8 of us were like, we're going to start a workout program, and my goal is we're going to lose 20 pounds. Or the person who loses the most weight gets the ante. and it's $20, and if you don't hit your goal, all that money either goes to the person and the percentage goes to charity.
Right.
There are reward programs that exist today. The question for me is, building an app is going to cost you 20 grand. Any way you look at it.
Yeah.
Even onshore, offshore, it's about 20 grand. I've done 7 apps. I haven't done one that's cost me less. I even did one that was like baby sucking lemons. It was video ads where I was scraping YouTube. And it's still, just to get the base of it down, it cost me $7,000 or $8,000 in development, plus I put marketing into it. End of the day, it was like 15 grand. So the first question is, who's your core audience? What's the business problem that you're solving today? How is your app going to do that? And then at a very high level, understanding what the workflow of that app's going to be. From registering through Facebook, using Facebook APIs is a brilliant way to do it because you get just a ton of data. Scraping Facebook APIs, getting that data, and then kind of what does that journey look like? And then what are you going to reward them with? Like cash? Like what do you?
It's outside incentives.
Outside incentives, like what, discounts at places?
Right. Discounts, rewards.
Okay. So you have 2 things in the same thing. Probably the broad answer is you have a reward system, right? So you have to go look at whoever the vendors are going to be that are going to be within your network.
Right.
And then you have the actual system to track those rewards.
Right. Well,
Do you have all that figured out?
I've done the footwork, yeah.
Okay.
So I have that figured out, but now I'm at this point.
I would leverage, you know who the partners are that are going to be involved in the rewards?
I have the reward partners and I have gyms that are willing to do a beta test, but I didn't.
Then you go to the companies that you're going to do the rewards for. All of them spend money on marketing. Ask them how much you spend on print marketing versus online. Where do you find the biggest return? Over 25% of ad revenue right now goes to online. So if as a company XYZ, if you're not using online, I'm sure you're using online. What I'm asking, how much is that? It's 10 grand a month, it's 5 grand a month. What I'm asking for is $1,000 of that money is going to go into the app because we're going to target 10,000 eyeballs in the first 90 days. Our beta program is going to be this geography, leverage the marketing money they're already using to help fund development. Does that make sense? Because all of them spend money on marketing.
Right.
Use their money. We're giving you this one opportunity to be part of our beta program. We're very hand selective. I'll take everybody, but I'm not going to tell you that. And we're going to use your money. You're going to have logos. We'll have banner opportunities. You'll have logo placement. Plus, we'll have an API scrape. We'll tell you who's on the app.
Okay.
That's what I would do. I'm really big on trying to use other people's money for some of that stuff.
Right.
Like there's everybody's got a marketing budget. DeskHub has a marketing budget.
Perfect. Gabe,
Can you tell me how much you spent on? Is that cool? Does that answer your question?
Yeah.
Okay, cool. Yes, sir.
More.
Yes, keep them coming. I love the fact you use the matrix reference. You know where I got you know my methodology and all that? I've been kind of quiet on it, but you're going to see me like make a full push on this because I don't think it gets talked about. Before you ask your comment frame, I don't even know what your questions going to be. You go to high school and you do what? You're kind of pushed through the system. I'm talking about public school. I'm not talking about private school. And you learn how to test. I have 4 kids, keep them out 117, and just gone through expanded honors her whole academic career, and then moved to Utah to go stay with her mom. And I saw what happened when they just were trying to push her through the system. Kids are learning how to test. They're learning how to study. The high percentage is like, I'm going to get a scholarship, but like 89% are learning how to memorize facts and figures to take a test, and then they go to the next test, and go to the next test. They're not being taught how to be critical thinkers and how to solve problems in a lot of cases, a majority. Then what? I go to college. 75% of universities are in debt because of their college football program. I'm on the Fiesta Bowl committee and I'm an ASU season ticket holder. I love football, it's my sport. Where does that debt get pushed? To the student. The academic protocol that's taught in traditional schools, not your tier 1s. You've got teachers that have only been teachers that don't have real world experience. My father-in-law is a professor of finance for the grad students at WP Carey. His day job, he runs finance for a mortgage company. He's been in finance his entire career. I do a whole thing around entrepreneurship with him. Every month I come in and teach the master's program. I do entrepreneurship to his finance class. And the curriculum in the school books is 2 to 3 years old. And when you talk about finance, how fast are things changing? You're using examples of when the crash happened. The crash happened a long time ago. Like we're talking about, so what's happening today? What's the relevancy of Bitcoin? What does it mean that we just spent $400 million and sent it over to Iran? Like, what does that mean to our system? Like, what does any of this mean? The school system's not there. You have professors that are professors as a career, and then the curriculum now becomes a science experiment. I get out and I have what? 75% I think you should go to college, but part of me is like, I don't know. If 72.3% of American college students graduate, they come out with debt. The average debt is $35,000. What do? I get a job, now hopefully making the most amount of money that I can to pay that debt down. Hopefully it's a job I can tell myself I like. Then I wake up 15 years later and I'm married, I've got 2 kids, a mortgage payment, and a car payment, and my dreams are where? They're in the shitter because now I'm committed to this lifestyle that I've built. And I'm living for the weekends, and I'm hoping I get a 401k match, and I'm saving as much as I can, and I can't wait for the summer, I can't wait for Saturday, so I can binge watch Game of Thrones. That's the world we live in. That's the matrix. That's wrong. To live that way till I'm 70 and hope that there's a system that's going to support me. I get my Social Security checks. I had 2 years where I made almost $400,000. And I get my I paid into the system. The money that I will make on my Social Security, even with 2 huge spikes, is almost where minimum wage is today. It's like I'm teetering welfare on a system that I paid into. So if I don't make investments, like nobody's coming to save you. Teaching people how to make additional revenue and new lines of income, whether it's full-time or part-time, whether it's $3,000 a month you do an Amazon, or it's I never would say quit your job, ever. Don't ever quit your job. What I'm saying is take a calculated risk and spend time. I took 6 months to leave corporate America. I didn't just leave. I was very strategic about how I left. Right? So building that calculated plan. So for me, the system is built against you. The financial system, the healthcare system, sports, like it's all, and not to be negative, but it's the game is rigged against you and you control that destiny. That's the get out of the matrix. It's like if you don't look around, drive into work, man. Sit on the 60 or the 10 at night at 7 in the morning. Look around. What do you see? A bunch of miserable human beings either on their phone or like this. I don't want to be like that. We have a choice, man. You have a choice. How old are you?
20.
I want to teach as many 20-year-olds to get the hell out of the system. They don't have to rely on it as possible. And I want to talk to guys that have hit the 45. This is one of my favorite things to do. I have a lady who opened a salon. She spent 20 years in corporate America and then decided to be a mother. Mother of 3 kids. She's now 48 years old. Who's going to hire a 48-year-old lady who's been out of the industry for 5 years, 6 years? Not as an executive. 0. So if I'm 50, if I'm 48 to 50 and I'm leaving the workforce, so I want to come back to the workforce, what the hell do I do? We structured a sales plan, a marketing plan. She was really passionate about getting a salon done. And as aggressive as that market is and as saturated as it is, I wasn't for it, but she wanted to do it so bad. We did it. And we got to a point where she was making $10,000 a month in profit. And to see her 6 months later, it changed her life. And it gave her an opportunity to do what she likes full time versus going and getting a desk job as an admin somewhere. Right? So I've got this group of people that I'm coming into that demographic. I'm 41. So I'm coming up on my own core demographic. And then students that are 20. They're coming out. Because people give millennials a bad rap, say they're lazy. Oh, they're lazy and entitled because we've let them be. When you show them like the next wave of innovation and the backbone of the country sits on small business and entrepreneurs. Right? If we don't support that and show people there's a way out, I think we have less banks now today than we did in the 20s. Nobody's paying attention. That's a problem. Right? The financial system, like you got to figure out a way out. I derailed your question. Sorry, dude. Oh, that's the matrix for me. What's the question? So you remember?
Software as a service, all the SaaS, all the developers, all the coders, all the jobs that are currently out there.
Yep.
All the account executive roles that people are trying to sell, bang the telephones, buy my software, buy my software.
Yep.
It's all about optimization, functionality, and efficiency. What's the variance between this and this, right? My software versus your software.
Yep.
What's the price point? Okay. And you got somebody trying to sell or knock on your door. There's a guy who started an online system, Ralph Washington. You ever heard of him? In 1994, he put up his own blog and then he created a website. And it's the Daily Motivator. And his focus isn't about optimization, efficiency, and widgets and
Speeds and feeds.
Silicon
Yep.
Valley.
Yeah.
It's about heart
Yep.
and faith
Yep.
and motivation and behavior and human and how do we get up every day. And he puts out a little blurb every single day, 365 days a year. This is how we're dealing. This is the topic today. Here's how we're motivating your heart. Here's where your hope and your faith and has to be. And
Does he wrap that around a product and service? Or
He
that
has
is his product.
He's got little books, right?
Okay,
And
yeah.
he's got
Public
some
speaking,
videos,
yeah.
but it's pretty, you'll see it, you'll be looking at it and be like, this can be enhanced so tenfold. And I was thinking there's a huge need there. I mean, there's, people are desperate for the soft skills of heart. And the old Vince Lombardi, it's all about heart power, it's all about work ethic.
Yeah, yeah.
And we don't have it anymore. We just have,
Sure.
no offense to the scientists in the room, but ultimately we're humans, and so you
Yep.
have your behavior has to be driven by love and heart, and those are the things that get you up in the morning. It
Sure.
isn't about
Yep.
coding and
No.
computer programs and software. And so where's the passion? And so there's a huge gap in what I'm seeing, and an opportunity to drive this kind of stuff. It's the stuff that gets you into the gym. It's the
Yep.
stuff that makes you eat right. It's the music that you listen to that inspires you. And I think that there's an opportunity to be there. And I don't have any vision. I just see that I have a gut feeling that there's an opportunity, but I don't have any vision of what that would look like.
Mm-hmm. Well, there's a couple. Let me have you put this into some fruition or some ideas. Don't be in the personal coaching business. Just don't. Like, I think that I would never advise. There's two things I want to advise people to do: start a clothing company and be a guru of any kind of like life coaching. Unless you have a ton of business experience behind you, than being a business. I categorize myself as a business coach. I'm not a life coach. Like, I don't want to hear what you're married. Like, I do in a sense because I want to know who you are as a human, because I do care. But I'm not the guy who's going to teach you how to be an alpha male. That's just not mine. There's a bunch of people that do that. The life coaching thing is very tricky. Where I think that there's a tremendous opportunity, though, is you've got guys like Tony Robbins that are coming down. I mean, he just did this documentary, is back on the rise. But that group of people that are going out, and you have a bunch of people that are coming in. People coming in are very hip to software as a service, understand platforms and continuity programs. But in the middle, this group that don't, that have been around a long time, that are trying to figure out how to get a service like that up, that could be a core market. And how do you help them scale that out? And a lot of it, a friend of mine that I was doing some work with, his name's Chad, he helps pastors and priests that have written books take that, put that into video format, and then build a continuity program and then reach more people. So he'll focus on churches that need to increase their membership, right? Because that's the big thing with churches, like how many people come and pay tithe and all that. So it's a business. But how do you take things that exist? And this guy wrote a book, sold 6,000 copies. He took that book, put it into a monthly subscription service with videos, and then now sold that to other churches to how to build a following. And he went from 6,000 books to like hundreds of thousands of members. But took that book and chopped it up. So if there's people that are in this space today, the coaching space, that are in your demographic, that are kind of, if you look at kind of the bell curve, that are at the top of that bell curve or on the back side of the bell curve, going and offering some type of services to modernize what they're doing to attract, if that makes sense. Versus being a personal coach yourself, unless that's what you want. When you go to school and you can learn, and it's a really low barrier to entry. And what I found is, I read a book and went to Tony Robbins. Now I'm a life coach, and it's like there's so many of those in that niche. So it's how do you differentiate yourself? I'm not a widget guy. I've never been a widget guy. For me, it's always been about the problem. Right? How do you solve a problem, and how does my product or service solve that problem? And then how do I position that at the end? I use, when I do sales training, and I've had sales teams that I've started with one that have been up to 250, and I do this training, every time I do training, I do this analogy. Let's say this was a ruler, right? So what happens when a traditional sales guy will come into a room and he'll say, oh, hey, Gabe, let me tell you about my ruler. It's the greatest ruler ever. It's red. It's got red lines. It's 12 inches long. And now I'm going to start here, and I'm going to go millimeter by millimeter and tell you every single thing about why this ruler is great. Well, you know what Gabe cares about? Gabe cares about this 1-inch section that's right here about this ruler. What happens is I just go and I go and I go and I go and I talk about all the form, the functionality, and all the cool things my thing does. I will talk about this, but I glaze over it. By the time I get to this, Gabe's ears will peak, but I've lost him. So how do I get here to where I know that this part is most important to Gabe? I have to ask questions. I have to ask him. Do you have a need for this ruler? Yes or no? Do you measure things? Yeah, you measure things. How often do you measure things? What kinds of things are you measuring? How important is the outcome of the measurement? Is it inches versus millimeters? How many rulers do you have today? What's your favorite one and why? And I start to get down, I'm like, okay, so all I'm going to talk about is this section. Can I do all these other things? Yeah, of course I can. and I have them in my back pocket. But I'm only going to talk about this to Gabe, because that's all that matters. Right? So when it comes like we've got lost in the form and function, and nobody gives a shit about gigahertz, megahertz, megawatts, gigawatts. Nobody cares. Nobody cares. They just assume when I turn it on, it's going to work. They don't. Guess what? I don't give a crap about your diet program. You know what I care about is I'd like to see my wiener once in a while, and I'd like to go up and down stairs without getting winded. That's what I care about. I want to play with my kids. Right? That's what matters. I just assume your program is going to lose me weight. I just assume. Right? So if I had a pin like that, it would say, learn how to be the best version of yourself in 30 days, ask me how. Something like that. Like, I just assume I'm going to lose weight. That's a byproduct. Right? So, but focusing on that. And heart, for me, all I do is heart. I mean, it's got to be about the passion of what you're doing. Yes, sir.
Just along those lines too, when I meet with people about accounting services, it's the same thing. They're already telling me what their problem is.
Yes.
And I coach my team that just listen, sit back and listen. They'll tell you what they need. In the beginning when I first started, I wanted to tell them my experience, my background, everything I did up to that point, but it was more important just, Gabe, tell me what you need.
Yep.
And I can help you on that one area.
Mm-hmm.
Everything else I do is just a
Well, then even peel that back. Why is that important? Why do you think you need that? Is it because that's what Gabe's wife told him? Gabe, why do you need that? Like, peel that back. And if you don't have that, how is that going to make you feel? Right? So from an accounting perspective, it's like if you get audited, how's an audit going to feel? When you get that letter from the IRS, I've been audited once because I screwed one thing up on my taxes in California, my state tax. They audited me, but I didn't do anything wrong. I just missed. I had a 1099 I missed, like 15 1099s, and I did one of the numbers wrong with 1099, and it got audited. But when I got that envelope that said you're getting audited, I was like, oh my God, this is going to be the worst. I'm going to lose everything I own. Well, I haven't done anything, but it's going to suck to get audited, right? So the emotional behind the financial service, why do people hire you? I need to either manage my money, make investments, or I need to protect myself with taxes, right? Either I'm getting money back or I have to stay in line. So when you peel that back and ask people, like, what's the driving factors? If you don't have this, how will you feel? If this happens, what happens then? Right? And I'll tell people, man, I just assume that you know I'm going to do good I'm going to do your accounting right, or whatever it is, whatever it is, CPA. Like, I just assume that you know that. So now let's talk about the specifics as to why you're here. Cool. What's up, Gabe? Anything else? Any questions online? Probably lost them because
Maybe last one, so we're kind of coming on that time.
Yep.
We can ask questions to Kolby afterwards. Give hindsight being 2020.
Yeah.
From the day you left corporate America to where you are, what would you do differently? Or, what would the recommendation you give yourself back when you started?
So why didn't you do it sooner? Yeah, why did I wait so long? And I'm still right in the middle of it. It's like, some days I wake up and I'm, man, did I make the right decision? And then, like that roller coaster I drew. It's like I'll get some crazy email or some message like, hey, you did this and saved this. I'm so glad that you did that. But for me, I think I didn't take enough risks early. I've always taken risks, but I would have done more earlier, probably. And then don't be afraid to do it. The fear drives everything.
Awesome.
I'll be humble. I wasn't humble at the beginning of my corporate career. One of the things I learned, I used to have meetings trying to figure out what I could get. So what can I get from you? What can you give me? Not what can I give you? And about 7 years that changed. 7 years ago that changed. And the conversation became, if I'm meeting you, what can I do for you? We had that same experience. You got this great network. I didn't ask for anything. It's like, what can I do for you? That mentality, I wish I would have learned that earlier. That's just a maturity thing. So understanding what I can give back and then balancing it out because everybody's going to want something from you. Being able to prioritize, but going into relationships and networking on what can I give versus what can I get. Because the inherent is anytime you give, you're going to get. It's just the way it works. Cool.
Awesome. Thank you so much. Appreciate it. And again, we're here every Thursday, 12 to 1. So check back in for our next speaker. And again, thank you very much, Kolby. Great presentation.
Thank you.
And hope to see you soon here at DeskHub. Thank you.
Thanks, guys.